This is your HGPTV Tuesday edition of the Sports News. I'm Sean Embrack. Recent successes for Guyana at the just concluded IGG Games in the table tennis discipline is cause for more intense work to further improve and develop the sport. This is the view of Godfrey Monroe, president of the Guyana Table Tennis Association, GTTA.
I think we need to look at the summons in terms of the keeping it with the international standards to include more events, because I thought it was a little archaic in the sense that we just had the team events. The athletes are sitting here for a couple of days. We could have included the doubles, singles, and both male and female, so that we had the athletes much more engaged, because it's a developmental meet, and for them to play and compete against each other is something. I think also that we could have included a little more players, so that more players get much more exposure.
Monroe felt, though, that future IGG can include more games and athletes.
We got to not rest on our laurels. We also have to invest in our youth programs, which we're currently doing. There's a couple other gray areas in terms of our tournaments domestically, but I think also investing in our coaches, and primarily also to have a facility, because the IGG is one game, but our aim is to go beyond that, and because we think we have the talent, and we just need to have the right environment to nurture those athletes.
We tell you now that Guyana did badly in the futsal aspect of the games, and to this end, the National Sports Commission plans to do some work with this particular discipline and the sporting association.
Well, the one move that we're striving for is to ensure that most of the disciplines are in the school. Futsal is one of those disciplines that we're looking at. To have that association, we want to work with them, that they start at the perhaps primary school level and work with those athletes on the way up.
There is a deliberate plan and drive to incorporate sports back into the school system. This was alluded to by Director of Sports Christopher Jones at the closing ceremony of the IGG Games 2016.
The government of Guyana, after taking office in 2015, emphasized the importance of sports being in the school curriculum, and the government of Guyana has set forth to ensure that that is possible. These games are to provide our student athletes with every opportunity to participate in sports at an international level. You are correct, Mr. Director, that these games must continue, and you could rest assured that the government and people of Guyana will do everything possible to ensure that these Inter-Guyana Games continue into the future.
The director made a promise to the athletes of Guyana to improve facilities and provide training equipment and funding for future IGG Games, to loud applause.
In the office as Director of Sports, I want to pledge my personal commitment to our student athletes that the government of Guyana and the National Sports Commission will do everything possible to ensure that you have every opportunity, that you're provided with the necessary equipment, that you're provided with the necessary funding to ensure that every other Inter-Guyana Games hereafter, that Team Guyana will be successful.
Suriname's performance at the just concluded IGG is testimony of sports in schools. Guyana said will emulate what Suriname is doing with sports in the school system. Boxing. The second annual Terence Ali National Open is set for a brawl in the Nufcuff 3-day competition at the National Gymnasium, October 28 to 30. Calvin Chatman reports.
The competition was formerly the Nufcuff sensation, but the president of the Guyana Boxing Association, Stephen Inval, stated that the committee had undertaken an initiative to name competitions after Guyanese boxers who had made significant contributions to the sport as a means of tribute to their service. GDF are the defending champions, but they will receive stiff competition from the Republican Gym. In the past two competitions, the Andrew Lewis National Novice and the Lennox Blackmore National Intermediate, they turned in some stellar performances. They will be led by the national heavyweight champion Jason AK-47 Barker, who has just returned from a Tri-Nation competition in Barbados, in which he won a gold medal, one of the first inmates in years to fight overseas. The competition will see over 50 boxers participating from 10 gyms, and it will be used as a yardstick to select boxers for the Caribbean Development Tournament that will be competed in Barbados this December.
And in cricket, West Indies senior team lost their 8th consecutive match of the UAE Tour against Pakistan. Calvin Chatman with that report.
Yasir Shah bowled his way to his second 10th wicket haul in his 18th test to orchestrate the Windies' demise on the 5th and final day of the second test match in Abu Dhabi.
It's Plum. Yeah, fantastic review, Yasir Shah. Very confident.
Bowled in, dragged it on. Leon Johnson will be gutted.
Chasing an unlikely 456 for a victory, German Blackwood's 95 was the brightest spark in the Windies lineup. Opener Craig Brathwaite scored a promising 67 and makeshift keeper Shea Hope scored 41. The West Indies have now lost every game of their tour, the T20 series, the 3 ODIs and now the first 2 test matches. With 1 match to go, Jason Holder will be rallying his troops, but an improbable victory in that match will hardly count as a consolation.